But let's talk about important corporate stories. Proxy advisory firm IiAS has opposed the reappointment of Gautam Singhania as Raymond's chairman and managing director. They've also voted against his reappointment on the company's board as a director, citing his remuneration, which was higher than the peers. We have Hetal Dalal, who's joining in. She's the president and COO of the IiAS, or the Institutional Investor Advisory Services as we know it. Thank you, Hetal, for joining in. First up, if you could explain, the rationale for this, and what is it that you think that, could be the remediation for this for you to turn?
Sure. Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone. Look, Raymond, there is a backstory, right? Nawaz Modi accused Gautam Singhania of domestic violence, and the fact that she's also claimed that she's a whistleblower of sorts, and that company money is being used for personal benefits, so what would essentially call CEO excesses. The board has been silent, right? We wrote an open letter to the independent directors of the board when this event happened, and the board therefore put out a holding statement. But there's really been no clarity on what has finally transpired given these allegations. So we asked a set of questions, right? One is that is the conduct of both directors or either director in keeping with the code of conduct? Is it in line with what the brand sort of signifies? Are there potential criminal cases, or is the company now open to litigation or any of these instances because of this allegation, assuming there is any merit in these allegations? Has the board even done an investigation to understand what the issue is, whether there is any merit in any of these allegations? And if there are CEO excesses, for example, have there been any sort of measures to curtail it or to sort of stem it? And what is, let's say, the recovery process that they're implementing? This entire battle which is happening, and clearly a lot of it is in the media, is it a distraction for the, for the controlling shareholder or for the chairman and the managing director in terms of running the business? So none of these questions are actually getting answered, right? The entire shareholder notice is silent on this issue, and after a holding statement, we haven't heard from the board. So I think that's really the clarity that we first expect the board to put out and engage with its investors in a more transparent manner before we can sort of think about changing our view.
All right. Hi, Hetal. Morning, and thanks a lot for joining in. Have you spoken to anyone on the board? Have you reached out to anyone from Raymond?
Look, as a process, we are not allowed to sort of talk to the company once the shareholder notice is out to the time we put out our voting recommendations. This is part of the regulatory mandate, and therefore we are unable to, at the time of voting, at the time of making this recommendation, reach out to the.
Okay, all right. So what could be, the remediation measures now? Clearly, you believe that lots needs to be done at the board level as well as at the promoter level. So could you suggest a couple of pointers then that shareholders should watch out for to make things better or good?
I think at the first level, what the board should have done was appoint an interim CEO, have the whole issue investigated, and therefore then come out with a course of action. None of this has happened. So at this point in time, we would recommend that shareholders vote against the reappointment of Gautam Singhania as a director, and therefore compel the board to at least drive in a succession plan and put in an interim CEO and get this entire matter sorted. The other reason why we've also voted against, Gautam Singhania's appointment as managing director and chairperson is the entire resolution of the remuneration structure that they're proposing. It's completely open-ended, right? The resolution essentially says that he'll be paid remuneration in excess of all regulatory thresholds. Now, regulation puts a cap on the quantum of remuneration that a CEO can be paid, and if they want to breach it, they need to take shareholder approval. But what has essentially happened is that this leaves the entire play open, and he could get, if you just look at FY24 profits, his number could be in excess of about 35 crores. So, but in excess, but we don't know exactly where it ends. So I think that open-endedness of the resolution itself has also compelled us to vote against. I think these are telling signs of where the government structures are as far as companies are concerned in terms of clarity and the transparency of their disclosures.
All right, and just to finally, watch this from the other side, say, just for argument's sake, is there a case that maybe one is overstating the impact of this on the business itself? Because from a shareholder standpoint, ever since the case came to light, from the start of this year to now, the stock is doing reasonably well. The last quarter, fundamentally, numbers were fairly good as well. They reported the highest ever revenue, EBITDA, as well as profitability. So could there be an overstatement of or over-attribution to the importance of this as a risk?
I think when you look at governance structures, right, and there is, we have data which shows that well-governed companies over a long period of time tend to outperform the index, outperform companies which are not considered well-governed at a portfolio level, and they perform better in price as well as stock beta. In the short run, though, that correlation will not always be true. So what you're seeing essentially is currently a short run. In the longer run, when things are difficult or over a long period of time, poor governance structures tend to come back and haunt investors. So therefore, from a governance standpoint, if the companies have weak governance structures, boards need to strengthen and do this and sort of build better structures. As far as the risk is concerned, right? I think at the end of the day, you have to ask the question of, is this the tone that you want to set at the top? I mean, there's enough. You've heard, culture eats strategy for breakfast, which has essentially been established time and again through governance failures that we've seen not only in India but across the world. And therefore, this risk continues to remain. Is it immediate and something going to happen tomorrow? Maybe not. But over a period of time, yes, this is indeed a concern as far as the stock is concerned.
All right, take that point. Thank you so much for putting your points and thoughts on board, Hetal. Need a good discussion. We will speak to you, as and when we have more clarity on the situation as well. Thank you for joining in.